Welcome to my new episode. In this video, we'll explore how mistakes can become valuable learning opportunities. I'll share my experiences with overcoming the fear of making mistakes and the motivation that drives me to learn new skills. We'll break down the phases of learning a new language and discuss effective listening strategies that can help you understand better. I'll also reflect on cultural differences in communication, share my plan for building vocabulary, and talk about my journey in understanding different accents. Let's dive in and discover how these experiences can help us grow. One time, I made a mistake that really taught me a big lesson. It happened in high school during a group project. I was confident I could handle my part. I thought I didn't need to practice much. But when it was time to present, I was unprepared. I forgot my points and felt embarrassed in front of everyone. After the presentation, I felt bad. I realized I had let my team down. They had worked hard, and I hadn't done my part. This made me think about what went wrong. I learned that preparation is very important. It's not just about knowing your stuff. It's also about being ready as a group. This mistake changed how I saw teamwork. I learned that everyone needs to contribute. In future projects, I made sure to communicate more. I started asking my teammates how they were preparing. I wanted to make sure we were all on the same page. I realized that teamwork requires effort from everyone involved. I also began to view mistakes differently. Instead of feeling ashamed, I started to see them as lessons. I understood that making mistakes is a part of learning. This new perspective helped me feel more confident. I knew I could grow from my experiences, even if they were tough. As time went on, I applied this lesson in other areas of my life. I became more open to feedback. I asked for help when I needed it, and I learned from others. This made my relationships stronger. I became more understanding when friends made mistakes too. In the end, that mistake during my group project taught me a lot. It showed me the importance of being prepared and working together. Now, I face new challenges with an open mind. I know that mistakes can help me learn and improve. This lesson will stay with me for a long time. There was a time when I was really afraid to speak in class. It happened in my English class during a big discussion. The teacher asked us to share our thoughts about a story we had read. I wanted to share my ideas, but I was scared. I feared that I would make mistakes or say something wrong. As I sat there, I noticed my heart was racing. I watched my classmates raise their hands and speak confidently. I wished I could do the same, but I felt frozen. I worried that if I spoke, everyone would judge me. This fear kept me quiet, and I felt frustrated with myself. One day, I decided I needed to change this. I talked to my teacher about my fear. She was very understanding. She told me that everyone makes mistakes when they speak. She reminded me that mistakes are part of learning. Her words gave me some courage. I realized that I was not alone in feeling this way. After that conversation, I started to practice. I would read aloud at home. I also began to talk to my friends about what we were studying. This made me feel more comfortable. Slowly, I built my confidence. I learned that speaking is a skill that can improve with practice. The next time we had a discussion in class, I felt a little braver. I took a deep breath and raised my hand. When it was my turn to speak, I shared my thoughts. I was nervous, but I did it. Even though I made a small mistake, it didn't matter. My classmates listened, and I felt proud. Overcoming my fear of speaking was a big step for me. I learned that making mistakes is okay. It's part of growing and learning. Now I try to speak up more often. I remind myself that my voice matters and I have valuable ideas to share. Learning a new skill or language is exciting for me. What motivates me the most is the idea of connecting with others. When I learn a new language, I can talk to more people. I can understand their culture and stories. This makes me feel happy and curious. Another motivation is the chance for new opportunities. Learning a skill can help me find a better job or try new activities. For example, if I learn a new language, I can travel and communicate with locals. This opens up many doors for me. I feel inspired to learn when I think about these possibilities. Having a clear motivation helps my learning process a lot. It gives me a reason to keep going, even when it gets tough. When I face challenges, I remind myself why I started. This keeps me focused and determined. I know that my hard work will pay off in the end. When I set a goal for myself, it also makes learning more fun. For instance, if I want to speak with friends in their language, I practice more. I enjoy watching movies or listening to music in that language. This makes the learning feel like a game instead of a chore. I also find it helpful to celebrate small achievements. Each time I learn a new word or skill, I feel proud. This encourages me to keep going. My motivation grows stronger with each step I take. It reminds me that I am capable of learning and improving. In the end, my motivation to learn a new skill or language drives me forward. It makes the process enjoyable and rewarding. With a clear goal, I can face challenges with confidence. I know that every effort I make brings me closer to my dreams. I recently learned how to cook a few new dishes. It was an exciting experience that I wanted to share. I can break down my learning into several phases, just like learning a new word. The first phase was my curiosity. I watched cooking shows and looked at recipes online. I felt inspired by the delicious meals I saw. I wanted to try cooking for myself. This phase was all about getting interested in cooking. Next came the preparation phase. I picked a simple recipe for pasta. I made a list of all the ingredients I needed. I went to the grocery store and bought everything. This step helped me feel ready to cook. I was excited to start. The third phase was the actual cooking. I followed the recipe step by step. At first, I made some mistakes. I added too much salt and forgot to boil the water first. But I didn't let that stop me. I learned from each mistake and kept going. After cooking, I reached the tasting phase. I sat down to eat my dish. It was a bit salty, but I was proud of what I made. I shared it with my family, and they were impressed. This moment showed me how far I had come in learning to cook. The final phase was reflection. I thought about what went well and what I could improve. I decided to try cooking again, but with different recipes. I wanted to keep learning and getting better. This reflection made me excited for future cooking adventures. Learning to cook was a fun experience. It had different phases, from curiosity to reflection. Each phase helped me grow and improve my skills in the kitchen. I can't wait to see what I will cook next. Improving my listening skills in a foreign language is important to me. I use several strategies to help me get better. Each strategy makes listening easier and more enjoyable. One of my main strategies is listening to music in the language I'm learning. I find songs that I like and listen to them often. At first, I focus on the rhythm and melody. Then, I look up the lyrics to understand the words. This helps me get used to the sounds of the language. Another effective strategy is watching movies or shows with subtitles. I choose movies that interest me and turn on the subtitles in the same language. This way, I can see the words while I listen. It helps me connect the sounds with their meanings. I enjoy this method because it feels like fun rather than studying. I also practice listening to podcasts. There are many podcasts for language learners. I listen to them while doing chores or walking. This way, I can practice without feeling stressed. I like podcasts because they cover various topics, keeping it interesting. Taking notes while I listen is another helpful strategy. When I hear new words or phrases, I write them down. This helps me remember what I've heard. Later, I can review my notes and practice using those words in sentences. It makes my learning more active. I often use language learning apps that have listening exercises. These apps provide different levels of difficulty. I can choose what suits me best. They help me practice listening to conversations and dialogues. This targeted practice is very effective for improving my skills. Overall, I believe that a mix of strategies works best. Listening to music, watching shows, and using podcasts keep me engaged. Taking notes and using apps helps me learn actively. With these resources, I feel more confident in my listening abilities. One time, I faced a language barrier while traveling. I went to a market in a foreign country. Many people spoke a language I didn't understand. This made it hard for me to communicate. I felt nervous at first. When I wanted to buy some fruit, I pointed to the apples. The seller smiled but started talking in their language. I didn't understand what they were saying. I realized I needed to find another way to communicate. I decided to use gestures and simple words. I picked up an apple and held it up. I then showed the seller my money. They understood and nodded. We managed to complete the transaction with gestures. This made me feel relieved and proud. I learned that using body language can help bridge the gap. Later, I met some locals who spoke a little English. We began to chat about their culture. They shared stories about their traditions and food. I was fascinated and eager to learn more. This experience showed me the importance of patience and open-mindedness. I also realized how crucial it is to respect cultural differences. People express themselves in different ways. I learned to listen carefully and pay attention to nonverbal cues. This helped me connect better with others, even when words failed. In the end, this experience taught me valuable lessons. Language barriers can be challenging, but they can also lead to learning opportunities. I became more adaptable and willing to try new ways to communicate. Now, I feel more confident in similar situations. Expanding my vocabulary in a new language is important to me. I want to learn new words and use them correctly. Here is my plan for building my vocabulary. First, I will read more in the language I am learning. I will start with simple books and articles. Reading helps me see words in context. I can guess their meanings from the sentences. I will keep a notebook to write down new words I find. Next, I plan to use flashcards. I will make cards with a new word on one side and its meaning on the other. I can carry them with me and review them anytime. This way, I can practice and remember words better. There are also apps that let me create digital flashcards. Another technique I will use is watching movies and shows. I will choose ones in the language I am learning. Watching with subtitles helps me understand better. I will write down interesting words and phrases while I watch. This will make learning fun and engaging. I will also practice speaking with others. Joining a language group or finding a language partner is a good idea. Speaking with others helps me use new words in conversation. It will boost my confidence and improve my pronunciation. Additionally, I plan to listen to music and podcasts. I will find songs in the language I'm learning and follow the lyrics. Listening to podcasts will help me hear how words are used in daily life. This will make my vocabulary more practical and relevant. Finally, I will review and test myself regularly. I will spend time each week going over my vocabulary notes. I can quiz myself or ask a friend to help. This will reinforce what I've learned and keep me motivated. With this plan, I am excited to grow my vocabulary. I remember a time when I struggled to understand someone's accent. I was in a class with a new teacher from a different country. She spoke English, but her accent was very thick. At first, I found it hard to follow what she was saying. This made me feel frustrated and nervous. During the first few classes, I missed a lot of information. I wanted to understand her better. I decided to pay close attention to her pronunciation. I also noticed how she stressed certain words. This helped me start to catch some of the words she used. To improve my comprehension, I started to listen more. I listened to recordings of her lessons. I would replay parts that were difficult to understand. I also asked my classmates if they could help explain some things. This teamwork made learning easier and more fun. I also practiced listening to other accents. I watched videos and listened to podcasts with different speakers. This exposed me to various ways of speaking. The more I practiced, the more comfortable I became. I learned that accents are just another part of language. As I improved my understanding, my confidence grew. I felt more comfortable speaking up in class. I began to ask questions and join discussions. My classmates noticed my progress, and it encouraged me even more. In the end, this experience taught me valuable lessons about communication. I learned that listening carefully can help overcome challenges. Understanding different accents is a skill I continue to work on. Now, I feel more confident speaking with people from various backgrounds.